Time loops, time slips, deja vu, and Groundhog's Day. That's topic 69 of the Unlocking the Soul podcast. Let's do the time warp again.
Unlocking the Soul, a podcast.
That's right, it's time to revisit the metaphysics of time. Why now? Because yesterday I had 3 people reach out to me and bring up time loops, completely independent from each other. Weird, huh? So, always trusting the universe, I figured I should give it some attention today. And we'll bring in insights from hypnotherapy pioneer Dolores and spiritualist Maureen Saint-Germain. Yesterday, a friend on my new Unlocking the Soul community on School, check it out, told me about his interpretation of the movie Groundhog Day. He said that Phil goes through a growth cycle during his repeated day that mirrors our own soul's advancement. First, trying to understand, then trying to control, then an ennui or thrill-seeking stage, and then acceptance that leaves space for selflessness, which indicates being ready for advancement and breaking the cycle. He also mentioned that theory that Ferris Bueller is living a repeated day in his Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It could explain his laid-back attitude and almost paranormal ability to predict his activities and demonstrate mastery over his routine. But I think that's refuted by his reputation. The assistant principal wouldn't be calling him a righteous dude if he was a dweeb just yesterday in her timeline. And then yesterday, another person told me about a cycle of archetypes where we are reintroduced to the similar personalities over and over again, such as a boss being an echo of the father figure, or a coworker being a sibling redo. We repeat seconds, minutes, seasons, years, periods of life, even up to the observed 80-year historical epochs that seem to repeat, and yes, our lifetimes. And then meanwhile, yesterday my wife suggested that instead of watching the Stargate SG-1 series in order and sequence, as we had been doing recently, that we should skip to our favorite episode, the one where Jack and Teal'c relive the one day 100+ times. This is the Fruit Loops episode where his day always re-begins. He too goes through the cycle of trying to understand, trying to control, boredom, and then, getting the guy who actually causes the loop to reach acceptance of the death of his wife instead of trying to bring her back. I went on Reddit then and found some examples of people stuck in time loops. Some are severe forms of deja vu, which is an interesting branch of this. This example comes from a 17-year-old user, Blueberry Pums, from 6 months ago, which you can find on the r/Unlocking the Soul subreddit. He writes, "I think I'm stuck in a time loop. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm being dead serious. I wouldn't say it's like a typical having the same day with the same actions and then you die and wake up and so on movie time loop. More similar to deja vu, but not exactly. This has been happening for years, but it's been happening more frequently nowadays, and it feels as if I've experienced a loop much more times than before. Like, say, earlier it felt like I only experienced it once, but now it's maybe 4 to 6 times. The loop goes like this. Everything is normal until I get a sense of deja vu and know what will happen in the next few seconds or minutes. And it simultaneously feels like I've experienced this multiple times before. Like I remember the previous time when I remembered the previous time, and so on. I remember remembering. These events are almost always unique and not necessarily a productivity loop. An example would be in a secondary school when there wasn't enough chairs for the class and a few students went out into the hallway to retrieve chairs. As they were coming back, the same deja vu feeling came back, and I felt like I experienced this before and knew exactly who would come in next, what type of chair they would have, and how they would hold it. As I said, these experiences have been happening a lot more frequently, and I generally don't know what to do. I don't have psychosis or that sort of thing, and I know how implausible it sounds, which is why I haven't told anybody. Sometimes I can predict what will happen, and other times I just know. I've written down a few of my experiences when they happened, but not too many, because I'm scared of the people I live with, or really anyone in general, finding them and thinking I'm crazy. Now, I've always had the occasional deja vu, some more salient than others. Once I remember knowing what would be beyond the next turn in the road. Once I remember knowing what a particular kid would say in the classroom. Once I remember a dream that predicted what a video game had in store for us beyond the level that we had reached. My theory on deja vu was always that it's part of the preview that our soul gets about a lifetime. So we're told that we're shown snippets when selecting a life, and these focus on the first decades in particular, which is also when deja vu is more prevalent, and they're inconsequential moments, so as not to give away the plot, just like these snippets selected to be shown in a movie trailer. Then when you experience those moments in the movie, with context, you rarely feel like it was given away, but you do get that aha moment because you've seen it before. Now, Dolores Cannon, through her extensive past life regression work and the Convoluted Universe book series, proposed that our conventional understanding of time is a filter or an illusion created for the human experience. I remember Einstein also said that time exists so everything doesn't happen all at once. Her explanation for time loops and deja vu centered around the idea that all time is happening simultaneously, but has some additional features that may give us these glimpses. Along the lines of my movie trailer idea, a subject's higher self revealed to Canyon that during the planning stage, the period before birth, the soul viewed the potential timelines of their life. They placed a marker or a vibrational beacon at a coffee shop, for example, because it was a moment when they would meet a significant person or make a key decision. When the subject reached that physical spot, the marker triggered a memory of the pre-birth plan, resulting in the sensation of deja vu. It acts as a confirmation that we're on schedule. So we also look at deja vu as a memory of a parallel life. So Cannon suggests that deja vu is not a glitch in the brain, but a moment where your consciousness overlaps with another version of yourself. She taught that we live many lives at once in parallel universes. So when you experience deja vu, you're hitting a crossover point, where a different version of you in another timeline is experiencing the exact same moment. Another explanation she offered is that deja vu is a marker left by your higher self before incarnating, and you plan certain checkpoints or exit points in your life contract. Deja vu is a signal that you're on track and in the right place at the right time. Now, since time is simultaneous, she also argued that you may be remembering a future event that's already occurred in a different layer of reality. She frequently mentioned that people feel that time is speeding up in general. The sensation that a 24-hour period feels more like a 16-hour period. She attributes this to a vibrational shift. The overall Earth's vibration is rising as it moves into the new Earth, the 5D. And as our frequency increases, our perception of the 3D time construct begins to dissolve. Now, I'm a bit skeptical of this one, because there has been scientific work that shows that as we age, we all feel like time is moving faster. Like 24 hours is becoming a smaller percentage of your entire life with each further day that you age. So another theory that Cannon puts forth is the idea of stuck energy, where time loops are often tied to karma and the soul's lessons. So if a soul fails to learn a lesson and resolve a certain trauma, it can become stuck in a vibrational loop. This isn't necessarily a physical Groundhog Day, but a recurring pattern of circumstances that forces the soul to face the same challenges repeatedly until it masters them. How does this tie into the archetypes that we mentioned? Well, there's ample evidence that if we don't learn a karmic lesson during a lifetime, we get additional chances to do so. It's actually logical, even if you set aside spiritualism altogether. Say you date guys and you think you can fix them, and they end up sapping your mental energy and being failures of relationships. How many times will you confront that situation until you change tacks? How many days will you be abused by your boss at work until you finally decide to quit? So we're told that such lessons get more and more obvious, more intense, the more stubborn we are about not learning them. And there is evidence for the repetitive archetype idea as well. Maybe you say, she's not my type. Well, that's a red flag that you're sticking with an archetype that obviously didn't work for you last time. Or maybe your kids see negative qualities in you that you saw in your own father. Well, that should be a flashing red flag. Maybe a past life memory had you enduring something similar to a pattern that you see in your own life now. Well, that's an interlife red flag. You're living the same problem over again because you obviously didn't handle it last time well enough. So how could someone actually get stuck in a time loop? That has to be a different phenomenon altogether than what we're seeing so far, right? So if you've ever seen the movie The Adjustment Bureau, which I recommend, it's got a great depiction of how there may really be some higher beings that organize time and keep everything from going off the rails. In Cannon's book, The Custodians, which mostly talks about extraterrestrials, she discusses how time can be manipulated by extraterrestrials or higher dimensional beings. Subjects under hypnosis often reported missing time or condensed time, where hours felt like minutes. She explained that time is elastic and can be stretched or looped by those who understand its energetic structure. A case study of hers involved a couple driving on a highway who experienced a time slip where they traveled 100 miles in what felt like 10 minutes, but their watches showed 3 hours had passed. Cannon's work with ETs suggested that they can fold space-time. The subjects were essentially moved into a bubble of different time frequency. When in the bubble, time moved at a different rate, and they experienced a loop where their physical body was suspended while their consciousness was interacting with the beings on a ship and then reinserted back into the timeline when ready. So there's also the concept of Time Lords, and this is related, I believe. This comes from Maureen Saint-Germain, who I interviewed about New Earth, and it's a fabulous discussion. I'll post a link below. But in her book, she talked about the Time Lords, or Lords of Time. This concept hit home with me because she said that she had amazing success asking them for help when she became in trouble with time or had an issue with time and schedule. So I tried it too and also had amazing results. Here's what you do. In a nutshell, show them respect and ask politely for what you need. These guys get so little attention and appreciation. When's the last time you thought something good about how time works? So if you're about to run late for a meeting, for example, or you're getting in your car, say out loud, "Lords of Time, hello. If you could get me to work on time for this meeting, or get my schedule to work out, I'd really appreciate it." And follow your intuition then. Maybe it'll take you a way you don't normally go. And then you'll notice that you merge back on the highway right after a large accident that you didn't know about. That's exactly what happened to me the last time I tried this. And maybe you'll get there late and find your boss also was even later and couldn't start the meeting on time anyway. Maureen gave an example of how she was delayed in traffic and it caused her to just miss being in a car accident. So just follow your intuition. Sometimes when I stop to smell the roses, I literally invite the Time Lords to take that sensory experience as an offering of my appreciation. I think I would actually find that a perfectly good soul development track to get on after my incarnations are through. So maybe the Time Lords are the ones that keep the Akashic processor and the Akashic records on track to integrate the lives of billions of souls who all want their choices of lives on Earth at the same time. Sometimes you can imagine they have to put someone on a loop for a while to maybe sort out a mess. So since that sounds so similar to Canon's ET discussions and maybe the person who left that Reddit description, so maybe this is what's happening. So if you find yourself in that situation, more than anything, I suggest patience. And hey, see if you can enjoy it. Like when Colonel O'Neill gave Captain Carter a big kiss right before one of his days reset. And be sure to always show some respect to those in charge, because they're likely just doing a necessary job. In other words, give it time. And as always, please like, subscribe, share, and find us in our school community.